to the European LCS for our first match of the last day as Millennium take on SK Gaming. Millennium may be in 8th place, but they have pulled off some big wins recently and still have a shot at improving their chances in the promotion tournament.
Yeah, so at this point, this match has become a fight for Millennium to overtake the Super Hot crew in 7th place. What that would mean is it will allow them to choose their opponents in the summer promotion match. After, of course, the team that finishes 6th, the 6th place in the playoffs has selected their team. So for this to happen, Millennium needs to win this match, and they have to have Super Hot Crew lose their game when they face the Copenhagen Wolves in our next match of the day.
And Millennium, you can't deny it. They've performed very well this week. They took down the Super Hot Crew on Tuesday. They beat Alliance yesterday, but unfortunately they fell prey to Roccat later on in the day. This week's games have been a bit of an eye-opener, I think we can say, for Millennium, and a massive reason for that success has been KottenX, the new jungler on Kha'Zix.
I completely agree. When KottenX played Kha'Zix against Super Hot Crew and Alliance, he got 11 kills in each game. His ability to find targets and pick the right moment to join the fight was absolutely fantastic. But unfortunately for KottenX, it didn't continue when he played Wukong against Roccat. He was much less successful. You can see by the KDA. In general, Millennium have had a strong early game, and they've had a pretty solid mid game this week. And I think very importantly for me, they've actually shown an ability to control dragons and to push the map to gain further advantages and to have that 2-1 record on the week so far.
And SK Gaming, on the other hand, secured 1st place, guaranteed themselves a top seed going into the playoffs. They took out Fnatic, the Super Hot Crew, and the Copenhagen Wolves, and they're looking for their first ever 4-0 Super Week. But the games have been far from easy, I think we have to say. SK fell behind against Fnatic in the laning phase, and they were a whole 6,000 gold behind the Super Hot Crew. In fact, the laning phase for SK overall still seems to be their biggest weakness.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. SK Gaming fall behind often. And not only this week, but all split long. They've been playing behind in the laning phase. But I think due to their very smart picks and bans, they always have reliable wave clear, which they use to defend and stall out the mid game, which is where they're strongest, and they look for ways to bring themselves back into the match. To give you an idea, they've lost all 4 First Dragons against Super Hot Crew. They also have the second lowest number of First Blood secured in the LCS at 10 out of all 27 games. So it's just showing you they're not able to get that early kill lead, but their map play in the mid game is what's helping them win all these matches.
So for more on this matchup, let's send it over to Demon, who is standing by with Millennium's former jungler, Aranea.
Thank you very much, Joe. I am here with Aranea, who's currently substitute for Millennium, of course, because KottenX took his spot. I want to talk about Millennium straight away. Obviously, now you're no longer on the team. How do you see the team going? Obviously, they've had a pretty good Super Week so far, obviously with KottenX. How's it going to go for them?
I think they play well. They play really well, especially because their motivation. They got motivation back. They really want to beat now every team, and they are showing up in the Summer Rift. They are actually playing much better than in the past.
And obviously yourself as a player, how do you see yourself going forward? Are you going to continue your pro career? You've been around a number of teams in the past. Are we going to see Aranea bounce back again?
Even though the public voice says that I should just go to the bench and don't play anymore, I guess my day as player didn't end yet. I guess I still have enough knowledge to help even any team as coach, as analyst, and I can even keep playing on any region, not only in Europe. I can even go to America, or to Brazil, or to whatever, to keep playing, because I believe that my skill is not over yet.
So we could see a Brazilian Aranea. We'll see how that one works out. What is next for you as a person, of course, outside of League of Legends? You've been fairly outspoken about everything you've done. Everyone that follows you on Twitter will know you're pretty brash, pretty man out there. You've done even analysis work for us last year. Anything planned?
Well, it's been for me already 3 years on the top. It's been 3 years playing for SK, playing for Millennium, playing for a lot of teams, alternate as well. And it's been kind of successful for me. I was always on the top. And I can't forget that times. For me, it's a really enjoyable times, beautiful times that I would like to, at some point, come back. But at the moment, I will try to focus on my studies. I will end my engineering and try to, with that engineering and my esport career, try to work in somehow around esports. And last words, I would like, especially on these 3 years I've been on the top, I would like to thank everyone who was around me, especially my team Millennium right now, before Alternate, everyone of them. I would like to thank my family. I would like to thank all the crowd, because at the end, without the crowd coming here, without all the spectators, without all the fans, we are nothing for me. And a last thanks to all Riot to make this game so successful.
Well, I think that says it all for you, and I hope to see you on the stage once again someday, RNA, because it's always a pleasure to have you around.
You will.
Overall, I think everybody's pretty much happy with seeing RNA. It's good to hear from him, but for now, we're going to get the games underway, so back to Joe and Quickshot to start things off.
Thank you very much, guys. Always great to hear from RNA.
Yeah, very heartfelt. And, you know, emotional player, been around for a long time. And he's been to Worlds, was there Season 2, been around the block.
Well, it's going to be watching from the stands today, so let's get right to it and check out the starting lineups for this one. On the blue side, it's Millennium, with Kevin in the top lane, KottenX in the jungle, Kerp in the mid lane, Creaton the AD carry, and Jree the support.
And on the red side, it is SK Gaming, with Steady Freddy in the top lane, Svenskeren in the jungle, Jesiz in the mid lane, with CandyPanda and nRated as the AD carry and support.
So moving towards Champion Select, then what are we expecting to come out of these two teams, first of all, from the bans?
So I'm anticipating a Kha'Zix ban from SK, targeted towards KottenX. I think that's the easy one to predict.
Yeah.
I also want to know whether or not Millennium are going to ban Evelynn out. Evelynn has been a first pick for all of SK's games thus far in the first rotation of their picks. Very high priority. If they can get their hands on Karma, it's also been first pick twice. So nRated's shown a little bit of favoritism towards that particular champion this week.
Yeah, really excited to see if anything new comes out, because at the end of the day, the pressure is completely gone for SK Gaming. They have that top spot no matter what happens. Millennium, they are fighting for something though. But again, it's not fully in their hands. They can win here. They then have to have the super hot crew actually lose out a little bit later on against the Wolves. So it's not fully in their hands, but a good performance here is the best that they can do with it.
Yeah, there's no room for error. If Millennium do not pick up a victory here, there is no chance of placing in 7th position, which would allow them to pick a challenger team to play against. So we'll see how they handle themselves and how they actually play this game out.
Fiddlestick's first ban, wasn't expecting that one. We've seen Svenskeren run it earlier on, interestingly enough.
Yeah, so he has played it in a game that was unfortunately disallowed, but the fact of the matter is, with Fiddlesticks being banned out, Svenskeren has been playing a lot of Evelynn this week, and I'm wondering if they're going to do another jungle ban, maybe an Eve, to force Svenskeren into something like a Pantheon or a Wukong. If they don't, then I think this is a little bit of an oddball ban, and they probably could have got a little more from it.
Well, they were laughing about that one, so I'm wondering if they didn't quite hit the wrong buttons. They do take away Evelynn as their third and final ban. Kha'Zix, of course, taken away from KottenX. That's been his real go-to, and to be honest, he's been so good on these Kha'Zix games that we've seen from him this week against Alliance and the Super Hot crew.
So straight up focus from Millennium. They are saying they want to reduce Svenskeren's effective power in the early game. With Ziggs being banned out, it means Gragas is still up and available, and you know, we've seen both Kerp and Jesiz playing a large amount of those two champions. I think for the junglers, you have to consider the likes of Pantheon or Wukong as top tier. You've still got Lee Sin, who's available as well, but neither KottenX or Svenskeren have trended towards Lee Sin all that much this split.
So Lulu was left open and available, and it looks like Millennium going to take that one. They did play it in their last game against Rockout. Of course, they lost that one. 0-3-1 was the performance that Kerp brought to the table. But over on the other side, what are SK going to lock in? No messing around for Freddy. He wants that Trundle against Kevin, and he's going to get it there as the first pick. Svenskeren hovering currently over Elise.
So Freddy's played Trundle a couple of times this week already. What we've also seen from SK is a Jinx and a Karma, generally being the combos that work around that. You've got strong engage, you've got strong disengage. You can chase with those champions. Trundle's actually good on the front foot and on the back foot. So knowing that they are still up, if we see Millennium locking in champions that are going to be a little more difficult to get to the back line, a little more difficult to get past Trundle's pillars, CandyPanda could just lock in that Jinx. So we'll see what he decides to train with. Creaton a super safe pick. Didn't even hesitate. That was as close to insta-lock Lucian as you can get. And he's just going to be on a comfort champion right now.
So what are we going to go with here as a second and third? Lucian was locked in there for Creaton and taking the Ryze as well. Now, we've seen that Lulu and Ryze can swap positions between that top lane and mid lane, so it'll be interesting to see whether Freddy ends up getting his hands on the Ryze or the Lulu by the end of it.
Yeah, the Lulu also was played support yesterday, and I'm trying to rack my brain who it was that ran it. Might have been Millennium, actually. Lulu, Shyvana, Lucian, Wukong, Leona.
It was Super Hot Crew.
It was Super Hot Crew, ran it as that support champion. So the possibility is there, knowing that you can put Ryze in Kevin's hands or in Kerp's hands, and having that versatility to swap them around. We'll see how they play it out.
So Leona, Twitch, the 2 picks here for SK Gaming, and we actually saw Twitch yesterday as well. We were just talking about the Super Hot Crew. They played it along with Lulu against SK Gaming. CandyPanda in the past has played a lot of Twitch in there as well, and I'll tell you what, if nRated has half as good a game than it has with Leona than he did yesterday, that's scary news for Millennium.
I completely agree, and when you combine Solar Flare plus the Trundle Pillar of Ice, that allows you to line up your spray and pray much more effectively. The Twitch yesterday from Super Hot Crew, I feel, was not an optimal pick because they had a long-range siege poke kind of champions. They were trying to rotate around the map and take towers, and they didn't, Twitch doesn't really benefit those comps all that well. What you're also seeing from the side of Millennium, Ryze and Lulu want to be running at you. They want to be, they're fairly linear in their approaches, which allows you to set up a good zone and good positioning on that spray and pray. So I think it's a smart choice this time around once we get to those team fights.
And Morgana was locked in here as well, and not played much Morgana actually has Jree. In fact, to my mind, only played it once, and that was way back against the Copenhagen Wolves again that they end up losing out on. Pantheon will be the jungler of choice here, though, for KottenX.
So we need to see now how Millennium are going to play this comp out. They've got pretty strong scaling, with both Lulu and Ryze going to do very, very well as the game goes on. And to supplement their weaker laning phases, you've got a very strong ganking jungler in the form of Pantheon. His on-hit stun and his level 6 Grand Skyfall can turn the tide of those lanes. But on the same token, SK Gaming have got very good scaling champions as well. Trundle's going to do well the later you go. Orianna's always going to hit a point where shockwaves have the ability to kill people, but you need to land them. And I've not been particularly impressed with many Oriannas actually in the last few weeks. I don't want to call Jesiz out in particular, but as a champion, she's not shone well. You do have a good wombo combo setup. Pillar, Solar Flare, Shockwave, Spray and Pray, everyone's dead. If they all land.
If they all land, and that's the key point on this one. If we look back to SK's victories, the one against the Copenhagen Wolves in particular, against Gambit last week, even Leona was a great pick for nRated. He wasn't missing much of anything, and if you can start that fight off perfectly, you're in good stead for the rest of it.
Yeah, and I think it's the same token actually for both of these teams. Both of these teams have got pretty hard CC, they've got pretty good damage, but the key is going to be, can they begin the fight on the right terms, in the right location? And that's going to determine who can win those fights. Well,
let's check in and see how you guys predict this match will play out. According to the votes, you think SK will win by almost 3/4, 74%. It's a big number. For me, it's first against 8. That number could have been bigger.
I think I probably would have thought it would have been bigger. I mean, SK are 17-10. In the overall wins and losses, you're looking at Millennium who are 9-18. But I must admit, Millennium have been looking better this week. Their games have actually impressed me. Yesterday's Wukong from KottenX left a lot to be desired. And this is the first time we're going to see him on Pantheon in the LCS. So let's see how he handles himself.
Well, we are going to be getting into game here. It's Millennium taking on SK Gaming. The final game of the split for both of these teams. For Millennium, it's a difference between a possible 7th and 8th. They've got to win this one to still have the chance to land in 7th, but it also requires the Super Hot Crew to lose later on in the day. SK, they have that first position. There's no pressure on them.
Now, there's nothing for SK to lose. So knowing that they're playing for bragging rights, knowing that they're playing to basically deny Millennium a chance, we'll see how that affects their gameplay. SK are grouped up, going towards the river. Now, Kevin is playing zone. If he tries to bait members of SK in, a Dark Binding could be a long enough route to secure kills, especially if Pantheon commits to his Aegis of Zonia, the W stun. That could be somebody deaded very quickly.
Deaded. Spiders are best deaded as well, if you ask me. Svenskeren is just holding on there. Millennium have spotted him out. You can see a lot of pings coming in. Are they going to try something funky?
Yeah, they're going to be able to throw out this Dark Binding or place the ward down. Millennium are setting up for a late invade. The reason they haven't moved yet, they're waiting to see what SK do, how they plan. That's a flash. Oh, he's in trouble.
That was not the best flash I've ever seen. First blood comes down, they do get one back, but they're going to go hell for leather here. KottenX, the next target. All that Twitch damage ticking away, the Ignite's in as well. KottenX, one more tick, will take him down. That's 2-1 to SK here from the early game. With a flash from Jree, for me, very, very strange. Went over the wall, I think, expecting that Svenskeren would be there alone and not having 3 people in the bush. CandyPanda coming in towards Kevin. He was trying to recall, won't get in range. Crazy start.
Yeah, so CandyPanda pops their ambush, was trying to get some kills, and you read the situation perfectly, Joe. Millennium were anticipating Svenskeren was going to be alone in the jungle. Flash over the wall, land a binding, and you can kill him. You've seen how quickly he went down. But at the end of the day, because Millennium got too deep and found more members of SK, they end up losing that trade 2-1. Kills were secured on the junglers as well as the support. So, believe it or not the worst thing to happen. Before 2 minutes in the game, First Blood is worth 60% of the regular value, which is 400 gold. So it's only 200 gold to your supports or your junglers. So it's not game-changing, but it will help them get to their first item quicker.
You see the lane swaps coming in as well. The duos, Creaton and Jree against CandyPanda and nRated will be in this top lane, which will leave Kevin and Freddy to duke it out down bottom. There's a dark binding landing from Jree, and he's definitely had mixed performances, Jree. I'd say a lot better these last week in the Super Week. Millennium as an entire unit have performed, I think, better than the level that we've really seen them before this Super Week.
I agree. I think Millennium, they needed some time to settle in with KottenX. The first week that he played, Millennium still had teething problems, I think is the best way to describe it. You know, they struggled at different portions of the game. This week, those issues aren't there. Now, we do see CandyPanda and nRated. With this Twitch pick, Twitch is a bully in lane, and Leona is an all-in support. So until nRated is strong enough or has enough levels to go all in on this Lucian Morgana, it's going to be a small advantage to Millennium. But we're not seeing Jree play aggressively at all. He's not going for poke. We're not really seeing him trying to control SK as much as maybe he could be getting away with. Svenskeren's going to sneak behind Kevin. Kevin does have his flash, though.
He does have his flash, and there is the pillar coming down. Kevin keeping hold of that flash, and he uses it at the perfect time, just as the cocoon was thrown out by Svenskeren. He doesn't have a flash anymore, so he's going to have to be at least careful how far he goes up that lane now. Yeah,
and luckily for Ryze, he's not the strongest of wave pushers, but then neither is Freddy on Trundle. So we'll see how that lane continues to play out. With the swap in favor of the duo lanes being in this top lane, it should allow Svenskeren a little bit of extra time to roam around and try get in behind from that tri-bush. It's a little bit easier to gank that one-on-one in that particular side when you're on red.
So the mid lane being rather quiet, both of them having an assist from that crazy level 1 fight that we saw, but it is Jesiz who, up until now, is getting the better of the farm here. He's going to get slowed down. He does have a flash similar to what we saw from Kevin. He didn't use it in that level 1 action and actually just walks away there. It looks like KottenX decided not to chase through.
Yeah, you actually seen Kerp using his whimsy on himself. So he got the movement speed increase and was trying to just run after Jesiz. I think I would have preferred Kerp to turn Jesiz into a munchkin, reduce his movement speed, maybe get some time for Pantheon to get in range, but at that particular time it didn't work out. Now this Morgana versus Leona lane is one that we see often, and what we've seen from NIF last week was how effective you can be jumping on the target with Black Shield and turning your focus to somebody else to stun them with your Shield of Daybreak, the Q. And I want to see if nRated can pull off the same sort of combos, because NIF was phenomenal at that exact plan last week.
Svenskeren actually was spotted here heading down, and he did see that KottenX had come around, and he will just back away from that one. Speaking of backing away, Kevin there trying to escape in the bottom side. The pillar comes down out of Trundle, and there is nRated actually going pretty deep, but Millennium doing well here to start to turn things around. This is going to be some free damage back onto the Twitch.
Yeah, advantage to Millennium, because CandyPanda is so much lower. He's got to be very, very careful when he decides to go in. If he gets caught by a Dark Binding and you combo the burst and the passive from Lucian, that could be a dead rat. The one thing that I liked about that little interruption in the bottom lane between Freddy and Kevin is it delays that early tier. Yes, it's 30 seconds, but basically Freddy's trying the best that he can to mitigate this laning power that Ryze has. You can see Kevin is already 12 CS down, in addition to losing that flash thanks to a well-timed gank by Svenskeren.
I did see Freddy headed home as well. He picked himself up that Vamp Scepter, so he's going to have some nice sustain coming back into this. We did see Kevin use his teleport to come back in lane. Freddy actually walked back, so he still has that teleport available if it's going to be needed.
Yeah, we'll see how this plays out. You know, it's a bit more difficult to go for those early dragons when you've got your solo laner. On the bottom half of the map, it takes a longer time. You don't have quite as much damage. But because Svenskeren's on Elise, she's one of the stronger early game junglers thanks to all of her spiderlings. Even after the nerfs, she still offers a lot of presence in that Dragon Pit. So we'll see if SK decides to go for any sort of risky dragons. And there's an example. Kevin just putting as much poke down as he can onto Freddy. He's not really doing a whole lot.
No, not much damage coming through that one. Freddy has hit level 6. There's Kevin hitting 6 as well. He's
half his mana.
Half of his mana is gone here, and we are going to see Svenskeren coming around. Freddy is going to go forward. There's a pillar. There's no flash for Kevin. It's all about dodging the cocoon. It actually was missed there, the cocoon. Freddy thought about going in further under the tower, but they don't quite have the HP to dive.
No, the cocoon was a little bit wide. I think Svenskeren was anticipating Kevin to run a tad quicker than he actually was. So Kevin gets away with his life once more. The movement speed that he gains from his ultimate also helped him out there. That desperate power just letting Ryze run a little bit quicker from the Trundle and Elise. But what we are seeing is Svenskeren, he moved towards the top lane for a tiny bit, but he didn't go for any gank. He's only ganked this mid lane. He wants to get Freddy to a position where Freddy can split push against Ryze and try keep him controlled, keep him locked in a particular lane.
Freddy just getting a ward in there. Also, while we're talking about jungles and their presence, KottenX not really been all over the map as we may have expected from him. He's trying to farm up to that level 6 so he gets his Grand Skyfall. That gives him obviously a lot more mobility to be moving in there. And we'll see if he does have that impact once he does get his first level in his ultimate. I'm guessing he's going to go home after doing that red buff, though. He's not got any mana to work with.
So I feel like when you watch Pantheons, their first Grand Skyfall reminds me very much of Karthus's first Requiem, in that if it's not successful at getting a kill, it's such a long cooldown and it's such a big investment in controlling a lane that you've got this now window where Pantheon is no longer a threat. So SK will be unabashed if they want to play more aggressively and push the lanes up, knowing that Pantheon can't get them. So let's see how KottenX handles his first Grand Skyfall and if it can work out. Right now, SK with another invade. This is another blue buff steal. Remember, they got the first one very early on.
Could have really done with his Grand Skyfall there, KottenX. Still level 5, couldn't come around. No one from Millennium tried to really contest that one and stop it from happening. And that leaves us 2-1 in kills in favor of SK Gaming. Not quite got a 2,000 gold lead at this stage of things, but some more items are starting to come in. For example, BF Sword for CandyPanda on Twitch. He has a 10 CS lead. If you compare that over to Creaton, obviously 10 CS behind, with a Vamp Scepter.
Now, because both of these dual lanes have hit level 6, if nRated plays the engage correctly and manages to stun people up, he can go for those kills. The poison of Twitch from his passive will proc Leona's passive, so they've got a lot of additional damage to work with. We talked about how Elise is a strong early game jungler, and they secure the first dragon. That was completely uncontested. Here's the first Skyfall.
Man drop coming in. There's the ultimate coming out. Jree and nRated flashes very early. The binding goes wide. And this is what you were talking about. If the first one doesn't come in, you got a big cooldown on that. And they're going to have to wait quite a while now to get involved. Yes, they got the flash from nRated, but that's not really going to bother him too much, I think.
There's over 2 minutes that it's going to take for that cooldown to become available. So SK Gaming are going to have this respite, and they're going to know that they're not in big threat from that ability. They've already secured the dragon. From a pure CS advantage, they are winning every single lane right now. That Relic Shield is doing a lot of work for nRated, and Creaton and Jree have not pressured CandyPanda and nRated when they were at their weakest before level 6. Now it's so much riskier to make that work. So we'll see how Millennium decides to pull this one back, because they've invested a lot and got nothing. They could jump. Oh, this is nRated in trouble.
Gonna go into that one. KottenX was waiting though, and nRated now in all kinds of trouble. That is a good solo play. KottenX has to flash away. CandyPanda's gonna get that kill. They do lose the support, but is he wanting to fight more here? Jree's at less than half HP. In the end, it's a 1-for-1. SK lost their support. Millennium lost their jungler.
Yeah, now Kerp may be in trouble of being dived. Here comes Svenskeren from the side.
Can they control him? Shockwave flashed away from by Kerp. Good reactions. That would have almost certainly been the death of him. The turret will go down, though.
Yeah, at the end of the day, SK are going to be happy with that one. They didn't need to burn in any of their flashes, and CandyPanda is playing brave against Jree and Creaton.
Oh, he's in all kinds of trouble here. There is a colleague coming out. CandyPanda trying to walk off, actually using his barrier, and he stayed alive for a while, but honestly, the barrier, I'm not sure it was needed.
That was so good between Creaton and Jree. They kept landing damage, and thanks to the Tormented Soil on the ground, it prevented CandyPanda from getting into ambush. There is a delay on ambush if you are taking damage, so they kept vision on them. We'll get to that in a second as Svenskeren's found KottenX.
And he's going to do a huge amount of damage to him as well. Half of his HP just absolutely shredded off. Now they turn it around. Wild Growth goes in. Svenskeren trying to escape. Kerp's not really got much mana here, but Svenskeren is pretty low. There's the command protect, and Sven can walk off.
So Freddy was making his way through the jungle, and that was where the hesitation came from on KottenX and Kerp's side. You also seen Jesiz making his way to the jungle. The knock-up from KottenX with the Wild Growth didn't actually catch onto Svenskeren. So that slow initial knock-up wasn't there, and that was just enough for Svenskeren to escape with his life. I want to go all the way back to that 2-on-3 that we had in the top lane. nRated went aggressive, and it was at the worst possible time because KottenX was in the bush with him. But like we talked about, a good solar flare and a well-placed spray and pray is going to deal a lot of damage, and it melted through KottenX and Jree's HP pool. Luckily for Millennium, Creaton was off to the side, so he wasn't hit by all of that spray and pray damage. But at the end of the day, CandyPanda grabs himself a kill. They come out 1-for-1 in a 3v2 situation.
And now coming back into lane, the Bloodthirster is done for CandyPanda. Creaton only got the BF Sword and Vamp Scepter of that one, so see if they end up getting in there again. If nRated once his cooldowns are back, which actually Solar Flare is now off cooldown, whether he wants to have a go and try and get involved and have a fight in this lane. Mid lane, if you look at the CS, it's a bit of domination from Jesiz right now. They've come close to killing Kerp a couple of times as well. KottenX though is waiting here in case nRated does go aggressive.
Yeah, KottenX is making his focus clear. We've seen Svenskeren focusing on the top laners, and we've seen Millennium's jungler KottenX focusing on those duo laners. So we'll have to see how or who gets the next gank. KottenX has just backed away. He was sitting in this bush for 15 or so seconds, and typical, the moment he leaves, all of a sudden Svenskeren's here, and the timing is perfect. Blue buff should be respawning in the not too distant future, and I think SK are going to try to get some more control. There's already vision, and we'll see how they play out the buff steal.
Well, why not? They've had it that last time, so might as well take it away again and prevent that going over to Kerp. They're going to push out that top lane. First of all, we can see that Kerp is actually moving up towards the top as well, just in case they do get called into action. SK had backed away from blue. The blue has now spawned. They've got the vision of it, but the top lane is coming around.
Yeah, this could be so bad if Jree can stun them up. Oh, he's caught Svenskeren!
Oh, Svenskeren in all kinds of trouble here. It's going to repel, but where's he going to go? Actually comes down to the side of them. Is he going to get away? Too much shotgun! Spray and pray comes around the side, and that's CandyPanda taking down Jree. It will be a 2-for-1 in the end. The blue buff actually was smited by KottenX, so although SK didn't get it, Millennium were forced to put it onto their jungler again.
That was a phenomenal spray and pray. Once again, we talked about the positioning. If Millennium group up, spray and pray's damage gets multiplied. Now, even though Svenskeren gets caught out here, I wonder if it's not blue between getting the kill on Svenskeren regardless. Smart play by Sven. Shockwave comes in, it only catches 2 thanks to a flash from Creaton. And look at the damage. That was 2 shots of a spray and pray. They get the kill on Jree, get the kill on Kerp, just out of range for that Zenith Blade means Millennium get away unscathed. But that's the 3rd blue buff in a row that has been secured for SK Gaming. That is the 2nd kill now for CandyPanda on Twitch, and he started himself off very well this game.
Easy, crazy game so far. 5-4 in kills. SK holding that gold lead out though. I'll say you take that first dragon as well. Bit of a sneaky dragon it was. I think that the timer was there because Kevin put a ward over the top of that dragon wall, and that will be coming up here in just 20 seconds time. Both top laners or solo laners with Colin, since they're down the bottom right now, do have teleport available, but SK are already moving in position.
Millennium shouldn't fight this. They are 3,000 gold down, and they have champions that will get destroyed in that tight enclosure. If they get caught by the solar flare or the shockwave, it just amplifies everything else that SK is going to be doing, and they can get zoned away. Oh, who got red? It was Sven.
Svenskeren got that one. He just sunk the claws in. Freddy's actually coming around as well. Can they do the damage? Svenskeren going low. Here comes Jesiz. There's a shockwave. It misses completely. KottenX goes down. But look at Kevin's health. He's got enough to finish off both of them here. But Freddy is completely controlling him. There's a flash from Kevin. No! He goes down. He's not able to pick up the kill. Kerp's going to be waiting. Here comes Morgana. Jesiz is going to have to suicide this one if he wants to get away. Kerp is going to get the damage and the kill onto him though. In the meantime, the top turret went down. The other 2 from SK did managed to walk through and away from the jungle. Don't think they want the dragon at this point, though. Svenskeren's far too low for that.
Yeah, there's not enough support for Svenskeren to solo this dragon down. A 2-for-1 at the end of the day. And that was with Svenskeren getting caught out. Svenskeren was out of position and surrounded, but Jesiz and Freddy were close enough that they could get in range. Now remember, the shockwave didn't touch a soul. There was a flash away from KottenX to avoid the damage. And that actually is very, very important. Had that shockwave landed, there may have been enough damage to turn that around and get even more from it. While all that fight was happening, SK secure the top lane tower, and you see how far down CandyPanda had pushed. It was just Creaton left alone in that lane for a few minutes, and the rest of the SK are just gonna reset, spend the money, and probably set up for this dragon again.
Kevin gonna be disappointed with that one, and well, that's the Ryze early on, you know, picking up that tier, got himself that catalyst, not got masses of damage, but that was kind of the dollar signs in front of him, you know, two very, very low players. As it was, they controlled him well enough to not lose a single man to Kevin. Meanwhile, Dragon, of course, did spawn in, and SK have a 4-man team pretty much around that one. Trundle will come up from that bottom lane. Pantheon and Ryze, the only two in immediate area there to stop that happening.
So the reason I don't think Millennium's composition will do well in these dragon engages is because they have to fight past the pillar, which is going to make Ryze, Lulu, and Pantheon's jobs very, very difficult. To run around and through that very large slope, it is painful. In addition to that, you're going to have that solar flare I keep talking about. They've jumped on Freddy. SK are a little far away.
Ain't going to be used from this one, though. That'll get him some health back. And Kevin, Freddy turning things around somewhat. And that's because the rest of the team's coming. Kevin may have outstayed his welcome from this one. Cocoon lands on towards KottenX. He's a target. Great solar flare to the back. And KottenX falling low. Will be finished off here by Freddy. The rest of them have to back up. Flash from Jree. And that will be the shockwave, that's the name of it, not quite connecting onto them. Kerp's there onto the side as well. Meanwhile, CandyPanda and Creaton are going to be going up in a 1 versus 1. A lot of damage coming out from CandyPanda. Not enough to get the kill, though.
Not enough to get through the barrier. Flashes down. Now, SK have forced Millennium away from the bottom lane. This is going to open up the bottom outer turret, as well as allow them to rotate around and finish off that dragon. Every single time Jesiz throws down that shockwave, somebody blows flash to get away from it. Kerp does get the tower, and thanks to the whimsy speed, he should be able to escape unscathed.
Leading off through. Meanwhile, down in the bottom, everything breaking out. Man drop comes in from KottenX. They're going for Freddy, but he's a tankiest man. Is he really the one they want? Freddy will get the kill on KottenX. Starts to walk away. Great repel there as Kerp has 1v1 Jesiz in the SK jungle. CandyPanda's taken down the inner top turret. nRated getting hit there by the dark binding. There's nothing more to have here in the bottom lane.
I think nRated wanted to turn back in on Millennium. My assumption is he turned into that to try go for a Zenith Blade. If they had combined the Zenith Blade with the Cocoon, there would have been enough damage with Freddy to, you know, burst down that very squishy Morgana. Luckily, for Millennium, I think it didn't work out. Now CandyPanda and Creaton, they're at it again.
Oh, Creaton gonna go low, but look at Lulu. Lulu's moving in. There was a flash from Creaton. He didn't really need to flash, I think, with that one. Kerp would have been there in time. Now they're gonna try and chase CandyPanda away.
Ambush.
Can he escape from it? Can he get that ambush off in time? And Millennium pretty much just gonna give up on this one.
That was actually a smart play. Ambush is still available, but it takes a small time to channel. Candy started, it might be late. Oh, no, it's not.
Just in time. I was actually really low on mana there as well, which didn't really help his case. Did get away in the end, though. A big 2v1 chase. This is that 1v1 between Jesiz and Kerp.
So if you look at the summoner spells, the shockwave just wasn't there, and Kerp's just going to straight up auto attack and Glitzer lance him down. I mean, you get Whimsy, you can't do anything. That was quite close. But Kerp, with his ultimate available, the shield from his health picks, and the ability to stop Jez's auto attacks thanks to his Whimsy, it was just very well played by Kerp. Straight up outplay.
Down on the bottom once again, Freddy into a push position. Kevin trying to get as much farm as he can here, but close to 50 CS behind. 2-0-4. Look at the build there from Freddy. Got himself Spirit Visit, got a Vamp Scepter, and that Tiamat in there as well. Jree actually may get caught out from this one. Are they going to go into him? Then he's played whipping wide. This is actually going to be turned into a 3v4, but Freddy is just 1v1ing Jree down on the bottom. Here comes Creaton now. nRated going to take the damage. Svenskeren comes on the side. Where's the shockwave they need? Oh, they already used the shockwave before that. Excuse me. And now they're chasing on to Creaton. He's so very squicky. He's going to go down. Kerp, the next one to fall as well. Surely, two men going to chase him now. They've got the movement speed. That's taken away instantly by Kerp, who's going to probably try and get off towards the tower. CandyPanda here off to the side as well. The spray and pray going through. He's going to get a double kill. It's going to be a triple here for CandyPanda. The rat clearing up.
That was a 4 versus 5 in the tri-bush that SK Gaming won. CandyPanda wasn't even with his team when it looked like Freddy had been caught out. But there's not enough burst damage to get through Trundle when he's on his frozen domain and with Subjugate. He healed through so much of the damage Millennium put out. Then because Millennium couldn't focus enough members of SK Gaming, they just didn't get the kills they needed to. CandyPanda flanks from the side, as you can do on a Twitch, picks up 3 kills, gets another tower, and he's going to be able to ambush and get away cleanly. At this point in time, Millennium are so far behind, they need to get superior vision and instantly kill a target to push the waves out. It's so risky to get caught out of position against all of the hard crowd control on SK side.
That 5-0 just said.
Just like that.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
Do it more.
And now they need to get wards. So that was Grand Skyfall from KottenX. He invested his ultimate, but he did get the kill. Now, CandyPanda's playing Scout. Millennium don't know he's here yet, and you can see the rest of SK trying to roll around. Spray and Pray is not up, so this is a good time for Millennium to get some global gold, but they can't get hit by too many members of that Solar Flare.
nRated coming in, and there is in fact the Dragon taken away, and nRated has gone very, very deep from this one. KottenX going to get caught out. He put the stun down onto CandyPanda. Won't be enough for him though. Freddy now on the troll. Rampage at 4-0 for Ravenous Hydra is complete for him with that Spirit Visage, and we saw in that last fight, it was 4 versus 2 for such a long time. Him and nRated tanking through everything, and then they just turned it around once the rest of the team came in. Only one man survived it, that was Kerp, and now they're pushing on towards this inner middle turret. It's going to be down to the base here of Millennium.
Millennium need to set up a defense on these inhibitor turrets. They do have pretty good wave clear with that Lulu. Get Lulu to use her glitter lancers to take the wave out, and then you've got the culling for backup as well as Ryze. His desperate power gives a lot of AoE, and because the rest of his spells reduce the cooldown on his ultimate by a second with each cast, it is available very, very frequently. The problem is they're both pretty short range. You know, Lulu has to commit help picks to a minion and then line it up in a perfect way. So it's a pretty difficult wave clear, and we'll see if Millennium can siege out. SK have shown no hesitation to dive, no hesitation to go all in. So Millennium are going to be hard-pressed to defend these turrets if SK say, we want to fight now, when you consider they've got double the kills, 5 more towers, and a bunch of dragons as well.
And the items coming in, Rabadon's Death Cap for Orianna, for Jesiz there. Phantom Dancer actually now complete for both AD carries. The difference being that there's almost the last Whisper done here for CandyPanda as well. And we've seen how much damage he comes in with, pretty much just executing everyone as they got low from that little fight before it. So SK definitely in the driving seat of this one. They're not too far away from having a 10,000 gold lead. You have to expect that that's probably going to happen to them at some point. Kevin has got Rod of Ages. He's got himself another Blasting Wand in there as well to move up towards that Archangel staff, but I don't think Freddy's even remotely scared of him. I think they're going to go in for this one. CandyPanda going to meet Kerp. This is bad news for CandyPanda, or is it? The rest of the team are now coming in here. Kerp falls low. Kerp shut down by CandyPanda, and Freddy tanking out 3 men again at the bottom. Got Kevin low. Solar Flare completely missing there, though, from nRated. Question is, will they feel confident enough to just stick around and have a go on the tower? Yes, they will.
There's no doubt they will. They've caught Kevin.
They've caught Kevin. Shockwave is going to miss. That was Kevin once again flashing away. Seems to be the story of the day here for Jesiz and Orianna. Jree's going to go low. He has to flash out of the fight. That inhibitor is going to fall as CandyPanda goes aggressive again. Can't get any more kills, though.
SK Gaming, they had the option to continue pushing on the towers. There was still a dead Kerp, but wisely they're going to back away. They've got an inhibitor down at the 24-minute mark, and it just seems like SK Gaming are playing super aggressively. Yesterday, we talked about how they were playing from behind after the laning phase, and after today's discussion, that's not the case. That's a man drop on CandyPanda.
Man drop coming in. It's CandyPanda that's the focus, but Svenskeren and nRated are there off to the side. KottenX has been 1v1'd here. Just can't manage to get the shutdown, though, onto CandyPanda. nRated goes low. There is Creaton helping out to get the kill onto Jesiz, but Creaton will fall. It's the troll in the middle of the team that's doing all the work here for SK Gaming. nRated now coming across the side. Kerp gonna try and speed himself up. Turns around, goes to Svenskeren. Has he got enough damage here to finish up? Svenskeren flashes and he stays alive.
Svenskeren gets away from the glitter lance by the skin of his teeth. It ends up being a 4-for-3 trade. Millennium were very, very brave to engage on that one. They had no vision in the jungle. Look at the blue wards that's around Sven. There are none. That was a blind fight engaged that Millennium were just feeling desperation, feeling the power to pull something back. They overcommitted. Yes, they still got 3 kills. They also got the shutdown gold from CandyPanda. So at the end of the day, when you're 10,000 gold down and you're giving 300 gold to your opponents, that's not going to be as impactful as getting that 300 or 400 or 500 gold for yourself. So there's a small win, but they need to be more calculated in those decisions because that was very deep and very aggressive.
We have over 10,000 gold now, the lead for SK Gaming Millennium. Moving up to get some wards around the Baron. And that man there, Freddy, the troll at 605, working himself up towards Randuin's Omen now. Already shown that he's pretty much unkillable, or you're going to have to throw everything at him really to take him down.
No, I'll say unkillable. I'll say unkillable. Unless Freddy commits 1v5, I think he's unkillable. He's got so much regen with that Spirit Visage. He's fully tanking Baron right now. We'll see if Millennium can even interrupt this one. And the moment Subjugate gets thrown down, there's a lot of stats and regen that Freddy's going to secure. Kevin hasn't even started building tanky on Ryze yet. We're at 27 minutes in, and Kevin has got a Rod of Ages, and that's it. He still hasn't finished his Archangel Staff, still working towards Seraphs. Got no additional armor, no additional MR. So yeah, that's not ideal, but when he does start building it, it's just going to get stolen by Subjugate anyway. So this late game Ryze is going to be a super late game Ryze because of how well SK have dealt with him. They were hyper aggressive, they ganked him often, and Ryze is not a threat right now.
Not even remotely. Freddy, he's pushed this mid lane all the way to the inhibitor turret. 4 men from SK Gaming and moving in towards the top lane inhibitor turret. Question is, can they stop them right now? Dark Binding comes over, hits the siege minion there at the back. Man drop is going to come in. This could be a last ditch effort for Millennium. KottenX is in the middle. Wild Growth goes on to him. The shockwave at the back again was flashed away from. Kevin gets locked up. That's 2 men down here. Next focus is going to be Jree. Creaton as well being damaged. Zenith Blade at max range. Double kill for CandyPanda. Only 2 men left alive to defend for Millennium. SK can win the game right here. They've got super minions coming in from that bottom lane. They don't need no super minions though. Freddy is too damn tanky right now. They're just going to tank out these Nexus turrets. Kerp's trying to get in towards Jesiz. It's Creaton that gets that kill. He will go straight down afterwards. Kerp still stalks around the backside, but the Nexus will get focused down here. Or will they? Will they want to kill Kerp? They want Kerp, and they get Kerp as well. nRated will have that one for free. The Nexus will fall, and SK celebrate that first place position going into the playoff with a dominant win over Millennium.
24 kills in 28 minutes. And that wasn't kills that were gifted to them. SK Gaming found those kills and earned those kills. The ganks, the roams, the decision-making was absolutely flawless. That is the most aggressive SK we've seen all split. I do not think SK Gaming have played a more in-your-face style of game in any of their other 27 matches this year so far, and it was beautiful to behold.
And that's the thing, there was not a single ounce of pressure on them coming into this game. Even to lose didn't really matter to them. But you want to finish the split with a win either way. They played it aggressively. They played. Now sometimes we've seen SK and we've seen they might look a little bit unsure here, and maybe, I don't know if scared is the right word to use, but afraid, maybe cautious. That's the one. That's the one right in the middle where I was looking for. Cautious to pull off these moves, but there they didn't hold back whatsoever. It cost them a couple of kills here and there where they didn't back off fast enough, but honestly, there was not really a chance for Millennium.
No, there wasn't. And the thing is, even those little kills that they did give up, it didn't result in further objectives.
Yeah.
So every time they were making those risky plays or those dives or those aggressive moves, it resulted in a tower or a dragon or buff steal. For the first 4 blue buffs of the game, those were SKs. That was sitting on the side of Millennium, and they had zero control of their own jungle. Thanks to the lane swap, and then accurately using the lane swap to invade. Every time blue was up, you noticed that nRated and CandyPanda were ready to respond. Jesiz was always close by. And the support just wasn't there for KottenX on Pantheon because, hell, he was facing 3 or 4 members at every invade for the first 15 minutes.
And the fact is, a sad fact almost for Millennium, 1 tower is all they got in that game. That was the middle outer turret. Just want to touch on a few individual performances here. I'm going to start with the Brit in the top lane. Freddy, 708 on Trundle, almost 100 CS ahead of his solo lane counterpart, Kevin. And you just couldn't kill him. As you said, in those team fights, you couldn't kill him. He had damage. He was stealing all the life back. Perfectly played from him.
So what I like about that is there was a very clear game plan from SK. We knew that Lulu and Ryze were going to scale. We knew they were going to get better and better. And Svenskeren repeatedly ganked bottom lane. He made Kevin's life very difficult. He was jumped on a bunch of times. And the super aggressive Trundle from Freddy is actually a little atypical. We don't normally see that out of Trundles, the champion in particular. Yeah. But when you've got the backup of Svenskeren on Elise and you can continue to go in over and over and over, you shut down Ryze. That game was over with Ryze only having a Seraph's Embrace and a Rod of Ages. He had no extra armor. He had no tankiness because you generally only get that from 25 to 40 minutes. SK played so fast and so aggressive, they were never in threat of having to deal with that super buff Ryze because they finished the game before he could even get there.
I have to talk about Twitch as well, and CandyPanda. With Twitch doing things that CandyPanda did there, your position has to be spot on every single time. And we saw in that big fight where he cleaned up on the bottom side of things with spray and pray, he was just in the right place at the right time for most of those fights.
So the funny thing about that particular fight, he was late to join the rest of his team. Now, he was sitting in the mid lane when there was a fight by Tribush, and 4 members of SK took on 5 members of Millennium, who were also scattered around in different places. So it wasn't an ideal fight by any means for Millennium. Candy was late. Luckily, his team was far enough ahead that it didn't matter. And as the rest of Millennium were running away, feeling they're safe because there's still a duel going on elsewhere on the map, Candy just pops up from the side, says, "Hi guys, spray and pray, see ya," walks away with a triple kill. But that's what you need to do with Twitch. It's very different to somebody like Lucian, who needs to be sort of on the front line, needs to be just behind his teammates. You want to be positioned in such a way with Twitch that your spray and pray is unexpected and lines up with multiple members.
So the consequences of that loss then, we already knew that Millennium would go into the promotion tournament. This, though, confirms that they do that in 8th spot, which means they don't have a choice of who they play. Obviously, the team which finishes 6th from the playoffs will get first choice of who they play from the challenger scene. Then the 7th place team, which will be Super Hot Crew now, will get the second choice. Millennium get who are left, which you don't have to be that much of a genius to wonder if that is just straight up NIP versus Millennium.
Yeah, Ninjas in Pajamas or Cloud9 Eclipse, I think, is going to be the two. They're the top 2 challenger teams right now. We'll be seeing those playoffs later, but it's a tough position to be in. That is a tough loss as well. I felt Millennium were looking much more confident this week, and that was a battering, and we'll have to see how they bounce back.
Well, Trox and Deficio are standing by with SK Gaming Svenskeren, so let's send it over to them.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, joined by Svenskeren after that game. Not only does SK Gaming lock in first place, but 4-0. Very impressive. Can you summarize that game in your own words? Because it seemed a pretty straightforward win for you guys.
We played this game. We got what we wanted in Champ Select. We decided we wanted Elise when they banned Eve, so we got the better jungler, at least for early. And then we just play our game.
So, #1 in Europe, 4-0 this Super Week. Why is SK Gaming so good?
I believe we just practiced hard. Everyone have been tryharding in scrims and stuff. Even though we usually always lose in scrims, like, I don't know why, but we always do well in LCS, but do bad in scrims.
And then I can ask, why is Svenskeren so good? Because you are really performing as one of the best junglers in Europe at the moment.
I guess because I just play a ton of solo queue and team practice as well.
Now, if you practice a lot, obviously you're going to get better, but do you gel particularly well with some of the members in the team? Are their playstyles compatible to yours more than used to be in NIP, maybe? Is that one of the factors?
I don't think so. I think it's just that we're pretty good friends. We just play good together. And we talk about the game together and stuff, so it just fits together.
And coming into playoffs then, what do you actually expect from this? Obviously you guys already have a bye, so you're straight into the semi-final. Can you take it all the way, or how do you feel about the playoffs? Is there any team you don't want to face, for instance?
Playoffs is pretty tricky, I feel, because it's best of 3, and I don't know. I think we have pretty good chances at finishing #1 at playoffs, but I'm not sure yet.
What about if you guys go to All-Star then? How would it be for you? I mean, obviously coming in here, SK Gaming, new form team. I'm not sure you guys expected actually to win the season when everything started here, and now you have the chance to go to All-Star. How do you feel about it?
It would be pretty nice to represent Europe at All-Star. But again, we hear a lot on Reddit that no one wants SK to represent like Europe. Even though we're #1, then people don't think we're that good. So it would be pretty nice to like show all the haters that we actually could do something.
Yeah, simple. Just prove them wrong and go all the way. Final question for you guys here. Next game coming up on stage is the Super Hot Crew versus the Copenhagen Wolves. I think I know what you're going to say to Fischer, but who do you think will win it?
I'll give it to Copenhagen Wolves. I mean, Super Hot Crew now locked in on 7th place. So for them, they're just playing it out to, of course, practice and see what they can do here. And of course, show for the fans how strong they are. So, but Copenhagen Wolves, I got to give them the win.
Svenskeren, what do you think?
I think Super Hot Crew is going to win.
All right, 1 vote for each. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and congratulations once again. Svenskeren and SK first place and 4-0. Very impressive. We'll step off the rift for just a moment, and when we return, the Copenhagen Wolves will take on the Super Hot Crew. But first, tiebreakers are nothing new over here in the European LCS. Let's take a trip down memory lane and look back at last summer's incredible 4-way tie for 2nd place.
So towards the end of the summer split for 2013, we had tie.
We were so close to not having anything. And then Fnatic beat Gambit in the last game.
5 men are still alive here for Fnatic. They're going to take down the Nexus here, and they're going to beat Gambit, and that's going to force us into this 4-way tie for 2nd position.
So it is a straight 4-way playoff. The winners will play the winners, the losers play the losers, then the winners play each other, and the losers play each other, then the winner of the losers plays the loser of the winners.
So I think you've lost already. We ended up having to do a draw, and suddenly we had about 6 more games to play out. It was an incredibly long day.
Everyone was fighting for the 2nd place, which would mean you had a bye week at Gamescom and you were actually 100% secure on getting LCS next year.
It was incredibly taxing. We did all of these extra games at the end of a 6-game day, which was at the end of a super week, which had been playing for 3 days already. It was a lot of added tension and pressure.
As a player, it's very, very hard because you have to keep focus, you have to prepare for these matches, even though you just found out maybe an hour before you play, oh, we have to play this team now, you have to go down and prepare.
And we just sat down, we had a talk, and after that talk, we didn't lose a single game. We beat everyone into tiebreakers.
And I think that especially in tiebreakers with teams that you consider as rivals or like really strong opponents, I think that a lot of like additional pressure will be added.
And I watched it all, it was amazing, especially the EG game where Creepo played Anivia.
Here comes Creepo from the side, they're all stood in it. That is the long-range kill.
It all came to us, like once Froggen kept losing with Anivia, I knew I could do better. And I just went for it.
The tie is the thing that you don't want to get in, especially if it is 5-way tie or 6-way tie, then there can be a lot of games.
I like to play more games. I mean, I don't mind to playing like 10 more games in that day.
Watching tiebreaker games is quite fun as a spectator, especially seeing people play their hearts out and see how full their tanks are. But those teams have to keep playing and playing and playing, and then it's fun to see who can last longer.
More games, more fun for fans.